Foundation, where we're gonna be doing lots of things, but we're also gonna be raising some money for the QLaw Foundation, which is awesome! The QLaw Foundation does services and education, all kinds of cool stuff! And the QLaw Association is here to help the QLaw Foundation. The foundation, the association, they're both awesome, doing great things and helping each other come together, okay? So, now, there's gonna be 3 videos that you can watch all together whenever you want in your leisure. 3 videos, and the first video, we're gonna get started. And then we're gonna tell you all the things about 2019 and 20. Although just the first part of 2020 casinos. We're gonna get started with that. And we're also gonna hear from the outgoing president that enter. And he's gonna give an award to ALEKSA MANILA, the President's Award for all the cool stuff she's doing in the community. And we're also gonna hear about all the sponsors! The sponsors! Who are so awesome! I love all the sponsors! So you're gonna buckle up and we're gonna hear from Jamie! Jamie, take it away!
Can we please get a virtual round of applause going for Sherdana? She's amazing. Welcome to QLaw's virtual 2020 banquet. My name is Jamie Johnson, and I'd like to take a moment to say thank you to our generous sponsors. Please join us in thanking our platinum sponsors first, and feel free to clap, cheer at home, or drop a comment and say hi to us. Thank you to our platinum sponsors: Lane Powell, K&L Gates, Davis Wright Tremaine, Skellinger Bender, and Perkins Coie. We'd also like to thank our gold sponsor, Dorsey & Whitney. Thank you to our silver sponsors: Miller Nash Graham & Dunn, Yon Reporting, Household Fetterman, Microsoft, Stoll Reeves, and Stokes Lawrence. And last, thank you to our bronze sponsors: Amazon, Buell Real-Time Reporting, Keller Roback, Lambda Legal, Law Offices of D.C. Cronin, Sussman Godfrey, Hillis Clark Martin and Peterson, Christensen O'Connor Johnson Kindness, Cozen O'Connor, DeMar Law, Fox Rothschild, King County Bar Association, Robert Half, Rover.com, DLA Piper, Foster Garvey, and Schwabe Williamson and Wyatt. Thank you all to our generous sponsors. We wouldn't be here without you. And now, it's my pleasure to introduce our outgoing president, Matt Etter.
Hi everyone, my name is Matt Etter, and I served as the QLaw Association president from 2019 to 2020 and completed my term in May. I want to welcome each of you to our first ever virtual banquet. Thanks so much for joining us, and happy Pride Month. I hope you have your favorite cocktail or beverage in hand, that you're safe at home and ready for a fantastic program ahead. I first served on QLaw's board as a student board member about 100 years ago in 2012, so it was a total honor to complete the circle and serve as this past year's president. We worked hard to advocate for the perspective of LGBTQ+ lawyers and legal professionals throughout Washington state. We held numerous social events, organized CLEs, collaborated with other minority bar associations, advocated for and testified in support of statewide legislation, became a partner of the Washington State Race Equity and Justice Initiative, met and evaluated over 60 judicial candidates from counties throughout the state, and supported our state's law students through our annual mentorship program. I'm proud to report that our association is strong as ever, financially sound, and ready to confront and adapt to the challenges we see ahead during these unprecedented times. I'd like to take a moment to thank each and every one of this past year's board members for all your commitment and hard work. The work that you put in for the association was inspiring, and I thoroughly enjoyed getting to know each and every one of you. I'd also like to add an additional thank you to Dan Shee, Kat Elliott, and Jamie Corning, all long-term board members who finished their time with the association this past year. Because of you and your support, the association is a stronger and better organization. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I'd also like to thank our event planners, Alex and Mira from Synchronicity Events. Because of their expertise, we were able to seamlessly transition into the realm of virtual events when it became clear that we couldn't hold our banquet in person this year. They've become fantastic friends of the association, and we couldn't endorse their services enough. If you have an upcoming event or fundraiser to hold, please consider working with Synchronicity Events. While president, nothing excited me more than receiving an email inquiring about how to become more involved with the association. If you're sitting there today asking yourself that same question, I encourage you to go to QLaw.org, see the committee work we do, see the volunteer opportunities that are available, and reach out so that we can get to know you and you can become part of the association family. This year's banquet's theme was Thank You for Being a Friend. And I hope we're all able to apply the spirit of the theme to support for our good friends at the QLaw Foundation. They're doing amazing work to serve the LGBTQ community. You'll hear more soon from their executive director, Denise Diskin. But I want to personally encourage each and every one of you to donate what you can to the foundation. The banquet is traditionally the foundation's largest fundraiser, and combined with the increased need for legal services due to COVID-19, it's vital that this year we put our money where our mouth is and show up as supportive friends of the foundation. Finally, as president, I have the great opportunity to share a President's Award with a member of our community. This year, I'm excited to present the award to ALEKSA MANILA. ALEKSA is a celebrated drag personality and respected social activist, originally from Manila, Philippines, who now makes her home in Seattle. I had the honor of meeting ALEKSA this time last year at our annual June CLE, where she provided a deep and rich history of the Stonewall events for the King County Superior Court bench and our attendees. ALEKSA's work with our CLE epitomizes who she is. She is someone who shows up when she is asked. She is someone who educates, and she is someone who works tirelessly to celebrate, empower, and nurture multicultural diversity within our community. In essence, ALEKSA is a great friend to all of us. When not in face, ALEKSA is a program manager at King County and Seattle Public Health, focusing on the sexual health of transgender women. Currently she has served as a frontline and essential worker during the pandemic. Because of ALEKSA, our community is safer, happier, and more vibrant. Congratulations, ALEKSA, from all of us at the QLaw Association. Thank you for the work you do, and thank you for being a friend.
Hello friends and family, my name is ALEKSA MANILA and I use she pronouns and I am a genderqueer activist. This year's theme is Thank You for Being a Friend, and truly that's the gist of it all. When Matthew Etter approached me to talk about something, I of course assumed I was being asked to MC the banquet or maybe even perform. I mean, if you haven't noticed yet, I am a drag queen. Little did I know I was being recognized for my community involvement with this year's President Award. So thank you for being a friend, QLaw. I humbly accept this recognition for every Black, Brown, Indigenous person of color in this country who continues to scream and shout when they are being silenced, who stand on soapboxes to be visible despite censorship, those who lay their bodies on the streets, who fight for all of us until their last breath. I would be remiss not to mention, don't worry, it's not about COVID. It's far greater than a world pandemic that struck the world in December 2019. It's an issue that's systemic and institutionalized into the fabric of American society, the so-called land of milk and honey. Yes, it's about the Black Lives Matter movement. You see, I don't have to be Black to understand what solidarity means, or what it means to fight side by side in whatever shape or form it might take. Perhaps during an acceptance speech, just like this one. If you find speeches like this to be boring or unimportant, I challenge your mindset. I challenge where your heart is. If members of QLaw as an organization truly fight for LGBTQ Washingtonians and yet shy away from the Black Lives Matter movement, then you're not fighting for social justice. Did you know that the 3 founders of the Black Lives Matter movement are just like us? An immigrant and 2 are queer. If I didn't take this opportunity to speak up and speak out about this, then this recognition is all for nothing. As we celebrate Pride Month, remember the Black and brown trans women who led the riot at the Stonewall Inn in New York in 1969 from June 28th to July 3rd. Always remember Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. And while we're on the subject, please ask, who killed Marsha P. Johnson? As we begin to progress into opening our state, please remember the people around you, especially the ones who are isolated, not because of a health mandate, but the ones who are alone and feel like they have no one. They too need love. And I cannot stress enough to please vote, 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 vote. We need a leader who leads with compassion and love for all Americans, but especially those who have suffered immensely and continue to suffer. Native Americans, the first peoples of this nation, Black and African Americans, brown folks and immigrants, the dreamers and the doers. Not the kind of leader who fails to see us, who fails to hear us, and who fails to see equity and social justice. We cannot in good conscience allow our Black, brown, indigenous community and our LGBTQ youth and trans siblings continue to be victims of this so-called leadership. Absolutely no one gets left behind. QLaw's mission is to promote and encourage the advancement of LGBT attorneys in the legal profession. And I ask firmly, with fervent favor, to please promote and encourage the advancement of the lives of LGBTQ and Black, brown, indigenous people of color. My name is ALEKSA, Manila, and I thank you for being a friend. Maraming salamat po.
Hi, wasn't that so great? Wasn't that awesome? Oh, I loved it. I loved it. So I want you to know how you can give to the QLaw Foundation. Okay, so you can go to www.QLawFoundation.org. QLawFoundation.org. So you can go there to donate, okay? Great! Hi, it's me, Shantana! Am I glad that you are here with me? So glad. You don't even know how glad I am. I am the most glad that you are here. And do you know what is going to happen next? Oh, you're gonna be excited. You better be so excited because next we are gonna hear from the one and only Supreme Court Justice Montoya-Lewis, who's amazing, and I cannot wait to hear. And also, there is more. There is so much more. You don't even know about it, but you're gonna, because we're gonna hear about all the scholarship recipients, and I am gonna introduce Jeremy Walker, who is the chair of the scholarship community, who's gonna tell us all about it, okay? Yes!
Hello everyone, my name is Jeremy Walker, and I am the past scholarship chair of the QLaw Scholarship Committee. It is my privilege today to announce to you the 2020 QLaw Scholarship recipients. After much deliberation, we have decided to select 3. Those three worthy recipients are Ryan Cross, Grania Griffiths, and Jason Miller. I want to take this time to acknowledge the tremendous amount of work that they have gone through throughout their legal studies, and this award we hope will reflect that work. It is unfortunate that we are not able to have our banquet as we have had in years past. We hope that this is in some way a way to recognize the hard work that they have put through. Please give these people all of the props that they deserve in receiving this amazing award. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
It's a complete honor to introduce you to this year's keynote speaker, Justice Raquel Montoya-Lewis. Justice Montoya-Lewis was appointed to the Washington State Supreme Court in December 2019, making her the first Native American justice in our Supreme Court's history. She previously served as a Superior Court judge in Whatcom County since 2014. Prior to her time in Superior Court, Justice Montoya-Lewis combined judicial and academic careers, serving as Chief Judge for the Lummi Nation, the Nooksack Indian Tribe, and the Upper Skagit Indian Tribe, while at the same time serving as an Associate Professor at Western Washington University. Justice Montoya-Lewis is also a renowned speaker, presenting nationally on issues of implicit bias, cultural identity, and tribal law and appellate court practice. We are all so lucky to have such an honored justice, educator, and advocate serving on our state Supreme Court. Justice Montoya-Lewis, from all of us at the QLaw Association, thank you for joining us this year, and thank you for being a friend.
Hi everyone. I'm Justice Raquel Montoya-Lewis of the Washington State Supreme Court. And I just want to, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some thoughts about where things are in our country and frankly in the world right now, and certainly in our state. I will be honest and say I've reshot this video several times as the news has changed every day and my thinking has changed every day. I was asked to record a video and reflect on what it means to be an ally or a friend to communities other than our own, and to think about resilience, which has certainly been a theme of my life and the life of my tribal communities that I've worked for and my own that I come from. So I wanted to start by sharing a personal story. As many of you are aware, last Friday, the Trump administration issued an executive order stating that there would no longer be protections under the Affordable Care Act and beyond that for trans people who sought medical care. And as some of you know, probably very few of you, I have a trans child who is a teenager. And he is pretty active on social media and engaged in the news, and that evening he came to me in tears and he asked if he would still be able to see his medical providers and if he could see them at all, or if that meant that he was no longer able to access medical care at all. So we talked about what an injunction is, who the people are that might sue the administration on his behalf, and other people situated like him who needed access to medical care in order for their lives to be full and complete lives, like all of us. And I said, it will be a long time, if ever, that becomes the law of the land. And he understood that, he was comforted by that, but he also said, I don't understand why people hate people like me. And I didn't really have an answer for that. And over the course of the weekend, watching the protests in our streets, as well as the streets of the world, he asked me again, I don't understand why people have to take to the streets in order to win the argument that their lives matter. These are not just theoretical questions in our lives today. They are foundational questions. They are questions that get at who we are as a people. And I spent much of the weekend feeling pretty lost about how to guide my child forward in a life that is certain to present him with people who think his life doesn't matter. And then we got to Monday, when the Supreme Court of the United States issued a ruling that said that LGBTQ lives and the lives of my child matter. And I couldn't wait for him to wake up that morning. And those of you that have a teenager know you never wake a sleeping teenager any more than you wake a sleeping baby. So I didn't wake him up. And when he got up, he was in a typical teenage grumpy mood. And I shared with him what the Supreme Court did. And I was very excited, I was very happy. And I was happy generally about the decision. And I was also happy to be able to give him some good news after a weekend of really hard conversations. And he understood to a certain degree what the court had done, but he also asked me why the court had to do it. And once again, I was a little thrown by that question because I had been surprised by the court's decision in the case. And I hadn't expected to be asked such a hard question so quickly after telling him about the decision. As I said, I keep recording and re-recording this message, and I had a message ready to go yesterday. And then this morning, the Supreme Court issued a ruling holding that the Trump administration could not get rid of the DACA program on the basis that they presented to the US Supreme Court. And I reflected on the many students I taught at Western Washington University who were undocumented, and one student I spoke to recently in my office who asked me whether it was worth pursuing her dream of going to law school, given that this case was pending in front of the Supreme Court, and what my advice to her was. And it was a tough conversation. So I decided to re-record this message this morning and talk a little bit about what it means to be hopeful when there is a real life debate on television, on social media, that really debates the question about whether some people's lives are more valuable than others, and whether or not the lives of Black people matter, and by extension, whether the lives of Black, Indigenous people of color matter, and whether LGBTQ lives matter, and whether the lives of my child matter, whether my life matters. It's a hard time in our country to be thinking about those questions. And it makes me reflect on my father, and I've talked about some of his messages in public conversations and speeches before, and some of you may have heard me talk about it. So if my message is repeated, I apologize, but I wanted to share some more personal thoughts about that with you. When I was about 18 and leaving my parents' home, my father gave me this. You can see it's a pretty battered, beat up leather pouch, and inside it are a couple of things that are pretty private, I won't share. But I do want to share with you, it's hard to see, this arrowhead that has been in this pouch, as you can see, probably for, well, many decades, if not longer. And when my father handed it to me, he put it in my hand and said, "This is to keep you safe when you're away from home and away from our people, which was going to be the case because I was going to go away to school. And he said, keep it with you always. And I have ever since then. It's something that has been through many hands in my family, many generations. And those generations are generations of people who survived very clear attempts to end their lives, their connections to their communities, their language, their religion, their cultural practices, everything that made them who they were and have made me who I am. And I hold it with me. It's always somewhere where I am, if it's in my bag or sometimes in my pocket, because I do believe it keeps me safe. So I've had some questions over the course of my career about what I wear on my robe. So this is my robe, and I wear these 2 pins on it. And frankly, I've had some criticism about adorning my robe with anything. This pin right here is a silver representation of an eagle feather that my father wore on his clothing most of his career. He was in the military, so there were times where he couldn't put it on his uniform. But he wore it on his lapel or sometimes on a tie almost every day when he was able to. This pin was given to me by a tribal judge, and as you can see, it's a gavel that is that also has a feather on it, and it's representative of the tribal courts and our jobs to do justice and to do justice that has meaning to our own communities. I wear those because I think that as I have moved from tribal courts into the state court system and now onto the Supreme Court, it is important for me to carry with me all of those messages of resilience, and that my community is always with me, even in times where there's no one around me that is from my community, because I know I always have them with me, and I have the generations that came before me with me, and the generations to come with me, because the work that I do is work that I hope will result in positive lives for the people who follow me. And not just for tribal people, for people from Indian communities, but people from all communities. I do this work because I want to improve the life selfishly of my own child, and beyond that, the lives of everyone. And in particular, people who have to wonder whether or not their lives matter, because they do, and yours does. I'm really grateful for the work that QLaw does, in part because, in my experience, QLaw and the people associated with QLaw really know how to celebrate their own lives. And that's something that is important to me, because I've always been taught to celebrate my own community internally and externally in other ways, through tribal customs and celebrations and clothing and carrying the arrowhead with me. A few years ago, well, actually it wasn't a few years ago, it was just a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, I decided that I wanted a constant reminder of all of those things. Prior to my decision almost a year and a half ago, I was firmly opposed to ever getting a tattoo. And frankly, almost no one knew about it until there was a newspaper, a magazine article where, for some reason, I decided to tell them that I had it. I'm not sure I'll be able to show it to you very clearly here, but I'm going to try. So, sorry for blocking the camera. You can maybe see it. It says, "Be kind, do justice," and in the middle is the gavel with the feather. There's a long story behind my particular selection of that. But the words are the thing that I think about all the time on the court. That I think we can think about justice in terms of compassion and in terms of resilience and in terms of the fact that people who don't have the privilege that others do, whether that's the LGBT community or other communities, that we can think about how to challenge the law in a way that comes to those questions with compassion and understanding and a recognition that we don't always understand everything we think we do about other people, about other communities that are not our own, and that we all have a lot to learn and we all bring biases to that. And that willingness to challenge our biases, that willingness to question our own beliefs about everything, is where I really feel like our resilience in our various communities comes through. These last few days with these Supreme Court rulings and the protests in the street and the private, hard conversations I think we're all having with our families, with our friends, with ourselves, really give us an opportunity to reflect and recognize that we are all here and we all have an opportunity to use our voices for positive change. And we're doing it, and we are seeing that positive change. It's slow, but it is happening. And I feel very lucky to be on a Supreme Court that was willing to put out a 2-page letter to recognize that we have a long way to go and that our title of justice requires us to give meaning to that title. So I'm very honored to have an opportunity to talk to you, and I hope that you all go out into the world and that you do justice. And I know you will, and I know you do, and I know you have. And I know the fight is hard, and I also know that you're not in it alone. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you, I hope, at a banquet for QLaw when we can all gather together soon. Thank you. Bye.
I bet you were wondering how you can give to QLaw, how to give to QLaw. Well, I gotta tell you, how to support QLaw. You just go to www.QLawFoundation.org. QLawFoundation.org, and then you can give and support. It's your Dana, and you, and me, and you, and I'm so happy to see you, because do you know what's up next? Do you know? I'm really excited about it, because now we are gonna hear from the QLaw Foundation's ED, Denise Diskin, and do you know what? Oh yeah, you're gonna get to meet the new president of the QLaw Association. Yeah, that's happening now. It's very exciting. I can't wait to see. I cannot wait. Okay, here we go. There's Denise.
Hi everybody, I'm Denise Diskin, Executive Director of the QLaw Foundation of Washington, and I'm going to give you a little bit of information about what we've been up to lately and why your support is so important and crucial right now. I'm going to give you a little bit of a snapshot and tell you a story about one of our most important programs, the LGBTQ Legal Clinic. So we're going to go back to March. Now I know March is not a month that any of us would care to remember, but back in March, our LGBTQ Legal Clinic intake line phone started ringing and ringing some more. And our legal clinic started filling up, first one, and then before that one had even happened, the next one, and then the one after that. And pretty soon, it became pretty apparent that communities all across the state of Washington were reaching out to us saying, hey, lawyers, this is bad. We need you. Help. Now, nobody calls a lawyer because they're having a good day, right? So by April 1st, we had converted our legal clinic to an entirely phone-based legal clinic, and we were set up to serve people all across the state of Washington. Our volunteers stepped up, our board stepped up, I stepped up, our interns stepped up, and we were fielding phone calls and serving legal clinic appointments for LGBTQ people in just about every county in this state that you can imagine. By May 1st, we had resources up on our website about all of the things that are weighing hardest on the minds of LGBTQ people right now. Things like healthcare discrimination, things like emergency estate planning, who's going to take care of me if I get sick, things like court closures, right? What's open for my family law motion? Can I get a domestic violence order? Can I get a name change? All of those things are things that our community's been reaching out for help with, and we've been right there to support. And by May 15th, we had passed a really amazing and really awful milestone. By May 15th, we had served more people at our legal clinic in 2020 so far than we did in all of 2019, by May. Now we know that this crisis has not been like anything else we have ever seen. We know now that LGBTQ people are represented almost twice as much in the top 5 hardest hit industries by this crisis. 40% of LGBTQ people work in those top 5 industries. That's almost half of us. So our communities are really suffering. They're really reaching out. And so we have to be right there to meet that need. And we're really proud that we have been there so far and we will be there in the future. This coming year, we're expanding our statewide work to make sure that our queer and trans and Black and brown siblings who need legal services are right there at the table when decisions about those services are being made. We're working hard to make sure that we are building coalitions and working in partnership with other organizations so that we can be leaders for LGBTQ voices in the legal community and make sure that when things happen that impact us on the national level and on the local level, and I know that we have seen a lot of those things just in the past couple of weeks, that we are right there with resources and information for our communities so that people don't need a lawyer to know what their rights at work are or to know what their rights at a healthcare facility are or to know how to navigate a family law issue, because we are right there with that information and those resources for them. Our communities, our LGBTQ communities, our communities of color across the state are reaching out and saying, we need you. QLaw, we need you. And that means that we need you. We need you to help make sure that we have the resources to meet this need, that we have the staff to meet this need, and to make sure that we can increase our reach and increase our connections through this crisis and for the next one that we'll probably see. So thank you for being right here with us, for being part of our family and part of our community. And we ask that you go to our website and donate generously today. Thank you all so much. See you soon.
Hi! You know what I was just thinking? I was just having a thought. I was just having a thought that maybe you were having this thought about how you could support QLaw. And I was also having that thought. We were thinking the same thing at the same time. It's very exciting. So if you go to www.QLawFoundation.org, you can donate there. I know. What? You just gotta go to www.QLawFoundation.org and you can support all these beautiful efforts. All of the good stuff there is very important. So I hope you do that. I'm gonna do it. I love it. Okay? Mwah!
Thank you so much, Jordana, for making sure that QLaw's events are always unique. Hi, my name is Josh Trabig, and I'm the new president of the QLaw Bar Association. Thank you so much for joining us for this program in lieu of our annual banquet. First, I want to extend a huge thank you to the other members of our banquet planning committee, Jamie Corning, Matt Etter, Kellen Hade, and Jamie Johnson. They worked tirelessly to create our event, to reschedule our event, and then transition to this program. This is a truly unprecedented time for the legal profession, for our communities, and for our whole society. We first faced a viral pandemic before turning to confront the pandemic of racism and over 400 years of the systemic oppression of Black and Indigenous people and people of color. As I record this, the current administration is rolling back anti-discrimination protections in healthcare, and we learn of the tragic murder of 2 Black trans women, Raya Milton and Dominique Fells. We mourn the 49 lives lost at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando 4 years ago, and we wait for the Supreme Court to decide if civil rights protections apply to our community. Despite all of this, I am deeply inspired and encouraged by the beauty and strength of our communities. People across the world are coming together to demand change and create a more equitable future, and QLaw stands with them. We recognize and uplift our ancestors, trans women of color like Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, and we remember that Stonewall was not a parade or a party, but a riot against the social and political forces oppressing the queer community. Looking to the year ahead, QLaw will continue to work with our partners to create change. We will continue to support and educate the legal community. We will continue to advocate for a more just legal system. We will continue to say unequivocally that Black lives matter. Thank you again for joining us for this program. Thank you for supporting the QLaw Bar Association and the QLaw Foundation. We look forward to celebrating with you in 2021, and happy Pride. Before I go, my last big thank you must be to Matt Etter, QLaw's outgoing president. Thank you for your tireless leadership, your support, your friendship, and the example you've left for me to follow. Truly, thank you so much.
Josh, thanks so much for this beautiful plant. It's amazing how it transitioned from a flower just via Zoom. Thanks so much for your support over the past year. I can't imagine a better person to lead the association into the year ahead. To everyone I've had the pleasure of working with over the past year or over my time with QLaw in general, thanks for your support. Thanks for your hard work. I hope everyone out there can stay safe, can stay healthy, continue to support your community. Black Lives Matter. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.